Draw from within, blossom. Like a flower take to open, this is needing water, but sunlight, space to be alive, and I am grounded by the roots, aware of the connections to the soul in which they not. They rest, to rest, often like my roots, and I am lay beneath it all for the consciously, observe it and get peace, and I give myself to grow. While seasons change my conditions, seasonally remain here in the present and beautiful me. Seasonless in the setting with the terrifiable. Need to feel wanted or love or the will for the outweighing and need to find love for this is observed and broken. Gotta put it living under the skin and find spill the silk. Around the bones, hope keep it big and erect and breaking. Mouth and all speak the praise and I give. And all flesh is blessed gratefully for the praise of holy name. Forever and ever, not to be medicated only, to be more. Bigger for the heart, for the thought, for the silence that we are, for the earning. Being in enough of just everything that I am. Thought it was awkward, and you didn't know how. Kind of behave for the play for the period before to you relate. To existing and only to the entertainment about me. Even when you are with you, you want to use it. The language and the thought for the use infuse this into the solely for the selling of your inherent meaning. This was different from the passion. Daydreamed about this and how far. First time that I remember for the positive there for the truth. What's it good for, isn't it? If you were supposed to be there, wouldn't be placed you there. Draw from within, blossom. Like a flower take to open, this is needing water, but sunlight, space to be alive, and I am grounded by the roots, aware of the connections in the soul in which they not. They rest, to rest, often like my roots. I am lay beneath it all consciously, observe it and get peace, and I give myself to grow. While seasons change my conditions, seasonally remain here in the present and beautiful. Seasonless in the setting with the terrifiable. Need to feel wanted or love or the will for the outweigh the need to find love for this is absurd, broken. Gotta put it living under the skin and find spill the silk. Around the bones to hope to keep it big and erect and breaking. Mouth and all speak the praise and I give. And all flesh is blessed gratefully for the praise of holy name. Forever and ever, not to be medicated only. More, bigger for the heart, for the thought, for the silence, and we are for the earning. Being in enough for this everything that I am. Thought it was awkward, but you didn't know how. Now I behave for the play for the period before to relate. Existing and only to the entertain who about me. Even when you are with you, you want to use it. The language and the thought for the use to infuse this into the solely for the selling of your inherent meaning. This was different from the passion. Daydreamed about this and how far. First time that I remember for the positive there for the truth. What's it good for, isn't it? If you were supposed to be there, wouldn't be placed there. Here. Rocking, moist, distant, retreating from the scene, serene, different space and language and thought for the confusing to me, but solely for making the mistake of the inherent meaning of you all. The thing is good for me. Thought I had figured it out and said it was better for me. You saw it on my face of the pain and despair, but converted me into the hideous and effort to find a lullaby for this melody for the pressure, for the heads and down for this to be the eyes to stay closed, this edge of the darkness. And there were the only eyes of the light for this you found yourself at the red library. Marked the walks of peace, and this to find it to be the find the least, so this is not the all finding joke, but the grab of attention for the slipping of it, the collection of shit meant to say. Things you know for the reaching of it, when you know you see it, this is felt melting to me, but as you're falling away, but the world turns quite narrow by the night. Close around us. And we watch the open, freshly severe the innings and the turning of what you have, euphonic and mild melody says it dance, and the voice is always euphoric and slow by. Running in a final going by, big wave, curling into through the fearful ways. You so that for the standing close and later beyond it, you can come for, keeping them all for the death. Just reading up we all. Carve the names into the dust of the soul. Trembling hands down. Times are just looking away and set over. God's love and wrath, but I should see my living hearts in the end of life for all this pleasure. Your house, my name. sacrifice the land, placing himself upon the chopping block, finding what the man would do to it. For this is what it was, something in heaven, believe for us to leave the wells, the eyes, the desert days, and this is rough, and this to hear. The wells cried with echoes, and voices of, and asking the wife, the young ones find these in the mountaintops. This is the welling in eyes, half moon. All whale died for the sea cries, the darkest loom. So this is the hymn of the foot, the find the spin in the hand for the boasting of the meat for the creature, over the teeth of breath, find the reddening of the flesh of the wishes from your pain for this. Just go to wells so the water carries the fuse to hear. Oh well, you find the blood, the misty with the prayer, for this is with the salt. Fear for somewhere beneath the broken side, but you can find a half moon eye and stay open with it, watching it decide.
I was standing in the midst of a persona, perhaps smiled and tired or entitled, smooth, seeing stars if you wouldn't know, knife to bone, with a bone like a throne, or sword to unheed. Let anybody check your progress well beneath. Towards success, that if you choose it, want to be the dazzler for your voice of the creation is. Will it away now for this to be the God, for this to create lessons. Wooden wind breathes. Lessons and when you would see if it already happened. This used to be happy to win, but I'm not sure for. It's puking that hurt for this and all that I can break. Broke. Necessary. Hope. Learned it all the normal for the page. It was from the final building in the house down. Lost song, million miles away for this to be. Nearest to home, finding myself frustrated for the distraught for this alone. But nobody left to hear words. We're only left for the pain for the rain clear. Verbs. It's only the obvious of you claim, but now for the know for to find myself for change to display. But apply for this the eye twist again for the signs of the end of time. For the here I am, procrastinating for all the rhymes and maybe just the waiting. See how they play out for the rattling on, for this to be the nonsense of what you talk about for each time that I write. You can call it right or wrong for the frustration that can only grow. Speaking in the riddles of the tongue for the only thing that I know. Maybe it's clever, maybe more than likely I'm not. For maybe I speak when the nerves are upshot. For out of gas or the luck, the good fortune if it's still playing the cards, and if you find hope in it. Your solution for the devil to pay the hurt for this fresh amount of change for this, and maybe another day for the pay. Can't tell if you don't have to find a cry to die for this or something. We're asking why for the building, the pressure for the inside, for the fight, for the feeling, and for the sympathy, and I mean, and another me with the spirit. Can't help being here, nobody fell for it for the feed, fed. Lost song that was misread for this screaming out of line for nothing. Nobody left here for the afterlife for this. You the chest right for the hand and the phone. Light as the air for the heavy as it hurts for this. For the feeling in the life of the air for the devil to be consumed. You let you go for the crashing down for that you can tell yourself no. Couldn't tell you now, but it don't listen for the never to be that simple for the heart. If it wants to be the heart with what it wants, and this is the praise of the day. Find a way for the question is what you Find a way without against the ground of all your weight, pulling yourself back for the pushing hard enough that you can find a little bit harder to try for the crash of that hand, for this to be the gross surface, the aching of what you more than you can carry. He was light as that air, for the heavy as the earth, for this to be the quiet in between, for the between the softness of your wrote this on his head for the dose of the question, the statement for the good job. You have this credibility for this is love. Thirsty as a pirate for the music when you find there's no brain that can't be toned down, for the soul is always to speak for the truth and not bring into the paper for the open the sky. Screaming for the thinking of the emotion, the following of the flow for the wherever you want the soul wants to go. Have the courage in this separation for the questions is even sure for the I for one. I have the answer for the silence is contemplating. The courage inspires me. This is so you're feeling it and I'm able to, for the I'm not. Booking time for the this to be all inspired by some, or maybe all. Civil line have been hurt, betrayed, disabandoned. Too many times to count for the numbers has enough for the angel, for the verdum, for the astonishment, for the plea, for the practically enough, for the letting it wait, for this to be the waiting and starting to have the way to say that this be unpredictable. Given a chance for the fighting of a strike, you can have that for the share the music and for the touch yourself at the soul, for the realizing and for the body to care to hear. What you have, anybody for the rejection you are for the going to the World Fair. Whatever your bucket list, and you can try to tell me out, but this is many hitting I can finally see now for the hot mess. Tuition for the asphalt mine, you're right behind. Running over you are for the raw and none. I was standing in the midst of
the constant making an appearance in you. Wish it was simple. When I rarely do gaze at the reflective glass that I feel this overwhelming urge of the void, the contact for them. You can find a wonder for the darkness and the behind it, hold it. Man in the mirror. 2 became a couple. Fear for the dude, the constant making the appearance in you. Wish it was simple. When I rarely do gaze at the reflective glass that I feel this overwhelming urge of the void, the contact for them. You can find a wonder for the darkness and the behind it, hold it. Man in the mirror for the things of the constant fear. And the false remembering when it over the pressing over the field for the paper, the smoothing over your steady hand for the edge of the vanishing over your scarecrow stands tilted. And jack stiff for the hammer tin for the face to turn upward for the loose thread, lifting from his cuff for the catch that light for the each his way, remembering falls, patterns. And after all, for the part of me for the made up for things, and I never speak for the story I swallow for the begging in the moon for the solace of the turn, the gazes through the sorrows of the stains of the silver throne. So here I pace these ways to self that wrought the ways that hunted by the echoes of their own. Find over the mind for the person because of the lack of ability to resist. And for the thought for the just to be undeniable, for the yet to know one truly exists, for the nevermore, for this to be the heart to soul. Trapped to the keyboard for the mutter, for the nevermore, for the you can find the things that are left unsaid. Blocked to unlock for the battlefield, for the conqueror, for you and you to say, with the quietly enough for the either that, for the you don't want me to, for the just want to know for the feeling and the never have to feel. The salvation with the need for the reconciliation, for the rage, for the segregation, for the demoralization, for the canvas and for the heaven, the skin. And the wrapping of the bones, and the artist is selecting your tones and ready to be out for the when I'm done, but alone, for the softness of the ride like the womb, for this is not new, the softness, for the ache like the be the opening, for the catching the clench for years, this will be the universe of the happening of what the moment is nothing but the just is doing it through me. While the world burns this spring, and the ambulance with the red spark, for the season of the gone cold, this is not enough for the clumsy, for the appear forever, for the temporary. For the last place in my heart will live, for the didn't recognize the trembling of the breath, for the snatching of a kind, for the makes me older, you closer, for the nourishment, for the street lamps, for the trembling, for the winter, for the temper, over your quiet slipping into your chaos, and I love you. The ground still trembles with the didn't record. Something to protect for the torment of being torn, for the part of that for the clings to you, for the so cruel, for the force it down the chair, for the restraint, the grabs, for the passing over yourself, for the because I have to hold under the water to drown, for the guilty, for the never the soul of that, for the loving you, or shedding the pieces for the love ladder, for the yellow, for the you can find in life, this is the only. It was all yellow for the understanding your hurt. And cold play for the carefully background instruments, and it was beautiful enough for the static, for the reaching out for you, for the ever you know it's like. Adoring you for the straight, for the smarts, for the door, for the you can find the grass, for the analyze, for the emerald eyes, and for the floor, the sure to be the glimmering of your way to speak the spoken, the kindness, and never to be the tenure for the game gone. The recap of the months, for the announcing and annoyance, and never the who's watching for me, for the unsupervised, for this be out of place, for the inherent to get a bad timing, for the mind, and for the own, for the be about the future, for the weekend, for the lust for life, for this together, for the toxic dying, with the lust for the life, for the phase, for the place in the highest of the dumped up for the inevitable hunger for the trebling of the world. A singing idea for the love and attention and affection, for the compressing in the time, for the once and enough, for the should be the criminalizing yourself, for this divine heat and separation. And I never had a decent collection for the frequency, for the frequently you feel crazy enough, for the however feeling that for the most noticeable, for the liquid of spirit, over the different sides for the common dating, your varying pulling over the side, for the quantity, for the varying, over the ones you got the collection is able to be empty. And I suppose to just not for the joys of the loud life of the days, for the not for the demand, the greatness, and the just the presence for the waking up, for the stretching into the sun, for the you were meant to be here, for the number, the comfort, for the come all, for the different, distracted, for the last lesson, for the living curve, for the half been, for the wrapped in a memory. And cut up for the lights of the different, over the parents and overflowing, for the just apparently, for the living, the love, and the shine to be glad. Like the way to run, the fun, the feel too tall for everything, for you are right now, for the now it's so unpleasant, for the outside my window, for the you can look, but besides that. Swinging through the air for the window pane, for the answer, the color for the reef, for the wrath, for the circle, for the forbidden, never to think about it, but the disregard of my thoughts of you, the more I put it. 2 became a couple. Fear for the dude, the constant making an appearance in you. Wish it was simple. When I rarely do gaze at the reflective glass that I feel this overwhelming urge of the void, the contact for them. You You can find a wonder for the darkness and this behind it. Hold man in the mirror for the things of the conscious fear. The falls remembering when it over the pressing over the field, for the paper to smoothing over your steady hand, for the edge of vanishing over your scarecrow stands tilted. Jack stiff for the hammer tan, for the face to turn upward, for the loose thread lifting from his cuff, for the catch that light, for the each sway, remembering falls, patterns. And after all, for the part of me, for the made up for things, and I never speak for the story I swallow, for the begging in the moon, for the solace of the turn, the gates of this, through the sorrows of the stains of the silver throne. So here I pace these ways to self, the wrought the weights that hunted by the echoes of their own, define over the mind for the person because of the lack of the ability to resist. For the thought for the just to be undeniable, for the yet to know one truly exists, for the nevermore, for this to be the hurt the soul. The trap to the keyboard, for the mutter, for the nevermore, for the you can find the things that are left unsaid. Block to unlock for the battlefield, for the conquer, for you and you to say, for the quietly enough, for the either that, for the you don't want me to, for the just want to know, for the feeling in the never and I have to felt. And the salvation with the need, for the reconciliation, for the rage, for the segregation, for the demoralization, for the canvas and for the heaven, the skin. And the wrapping of the bones and the artist is selecting your tones and ready to be out for the when I'm done, for the loan, for the softness of the ride like the womb, for this to not know the softness and the ache like to be the opening of the catching the clench for years. This will be the universe of the happening of the moment. There's nothing but the just doing it through me. And while the world burns this spring, and the ambulance with the red spark, for the season of the gone coat, this is all enough for the clumsy, for the appear forever, for the temporary. For the last place in my heart will live, for the didn't recognize the trembling of the breath, for the snatching of a kind, for the makes me old of you closer, for the nourishment, for this tree, the lambs, for the trembling over the winter, for the terror over your quiet slipping into your chaos, and I love you. But the ground still trembles over the didn't recoil. Something to protect for the torment of being torn, for the part of that, for the clings to you, for the so cruel, for the forcing down the chair, for the restraint, the grasp, for the sympathy, for yourself, for the because I had to hold under the water to drown, for the guilty, for the never the soul of that, for the loving you. For shedding the pieces, for the love ladder, for the yellow, you can find life, for this is young. It's all yellow for the understanding. Cold play for the carefully background instruments, and it was beautiful enough for the static for the reaching out for you, for the ever you know is like adoring you for the straight, the smarts for the door, for the you can find the grasp, for the analyze, the amber eyes, and ever the court, sure, the music, glimmering of the windows, for the smoke, for the kindness, and ever the beauty, telling you for the game. The recap of the months, announcing an annoyance, and never the who's watching me for the unsupervised, and this big out place for the inherently good bad timing, for the mind, and for the home, for the ability about the future. Weekend, or the lust for life, for this together, for the toxic dying, for the lust for the life, for the phase of it, for the place of the highest of the real. Thumbs up for the inevitable hunger, for the troubling of the world. Sing an idea for the love and intention and affection, for the compressing of the time, for the wanting of nothing, for the should be, eyes of yourself, for the operation. And I never had a decent collection for the frequency, for the frequently you'll feel crazy enough, for the how you're feeling that, for the most noticeable, for the liquid, the spirit, over the different sides, for the accommodating your varying, pulling over the side, for the quantity, for the fairy, for the ones you got, the collection is able to be empty. And I suppose for this, not for the joys of the loud life, for the days of the night, for the demand, the greatness of the just the presence, for the waking up and the stretching into the sun, for the you were meant to be here, for the not for the coming, for the come all, for the different, the distract, the last lesson, for the loving, the courage, for the half-wit, for the wrath, for the memory. The cut for the lights of the different, over the parents and the overflowing, for the just the parenting, for the living, no love, for the shining, the light. Like the way to find the fun, a little too tall for everything you are right now, for now it's more pleasant, for the outside, my window, for the color, besides that. Swing into the air for the wind, for pain, for the answer, the color, for the reef, for the wrath, for the circle, for the forbidden, never really think about it, but the disregard of my thoughts and people.
Your heart's land shaped like a spiral through the dove, the boom, the call. Name when something you find others to behave, to be healed for the simply given water for off them to feel. Empty houses that tram the doors. Touching the beer cans, we'll find an inhaling a smoke for the beat barrier with it hiking up the beach, just an ancient jagged over the jetty, over the walking over the bits of vein for this to how to reach this place of the lighthouse, this bathe the slice of the open sea, the beam cuts to the space between you and me for the moment. Damage in the hip for the sparing and the arm for the no one can see. Terrific, this will be the reminder for the conquering inner life. This is all the garden with the two moons. Forgotten forest between the mountains and the sea, for there was walk the garden for the time that didn't flow as it did in the world beyond. The garden lived in woman for the deep and knowing, for the this was born under the whisper of falling stars, and this moon weather for the had been a great healer. Softened but not the spinach. Diminish and never to hear the wind speaks, and this is the name of the strange tones. This is the between them,
find the river that had one strong disc curl beneath the earth for this, forgotten something precious long ago. On the chest where the shadow lived, and I see you. With each alternative step, your face and cracks and hug I needed. Shit the quiet and rearrange the decision made the silence of the night. For who am I for the left of the building, but the drop the cross of death, the cross of hope from the phone, afraid the faith is where it is, bringing apologies. When it don't wash away the rain, the stain, the beg for the life of the innocent, life of the king, for the dimming of the own life that you can have it throwing away yourself. Run through my legs and weak arms and numb this to blow for this, and in my mind often sometimes roll for this, the falling and I can mean I can follow the life of this player for the seeding in the garden for the seed of the man with the name and the for the blossom shit across the way. And yes, she meant her for the closed eyes, blood lapping over the shores of the soul. With this heart of mine, ever be alleviating and suffocating away for the heart for the mind, your effort fits with the hidden new wall of bricks as you can have an open the book for the doors and never divine hour for the being of commitment. And the winds hurry over the valley racing to soul without a name. There's stormy days at the deepest of the depths of hell for the came back together for the because our love for the divine animal for the back for the slowly moving of the storm for the holy night for the you can come down for the hope the day dawn. The hum, the radiating pitch of the softening of the beam overhead. Blood is the bird right, and I'm immersed. Ever the breathing back into the pleasure, the getting out of my mind for the back of the time, for the bed, for the day, for the water, for the weird, the where, the real, for they held each other, for the love that beat patiently, and for the passion. Because of the ignorance and I may need a helping hand. Between the sheets of the and so gently everywhere you've been, for the violent life at the start for today without the morning and the yearning. Burning desire for the thought you ignite my core, for the flaming of the burns and the cry out and more, for this forward of where the stars. Bird your heart's land shaped like a spiral through the dove, the boom and call. Her name means something you can find others to behave. To be a healer for the simply, give them waterfall for them to feel. Empty houses to trim the doors. Or the touching of the beer cans will find the inhaling of smoke for the beat barrier where they're hiking up the beach. Just the ancient jagged over the jetty, over the walking over the belts in vain for this to how to reach this place of the lighthouse. This bathe the slice of the open sea, the beam cuts to the space between you and me for the own. Damaging of the hip for the sparing of the arm for the no one can see. Terrific, this will be the reminder for your conquering inner life. This is all the garden of the two moons. Forgotten forest between the mountains and the sea, for there was a walk the garden for the time that didn't flow as it did in the world beyond. And the garden lived in woman for the deep and knowing, for the this was the born under the whisper of falling stars, and this the moon mother for the had been a great healer. Softened but not diminished. Diminished never to hear the wind speaks, this is the name of the strange tones, this is to find between them, then you can find a river that had one strong disc curl beneath the earth for this, forgotten something precious long ago. On the chest where the shadow lived. And I see you. With each alternative step, your face it cracks and hug I needed. Shift the quiet and rearrange the decision made the silence of the night. For who am I for the left of the building, but the drop the cross of death, the cross of the phone, the phone, afraid the faith is where it is, bringing apologies. And it don't wash away the rain, the stain, the beg for the life of the innocent, life of the king, for the dimming of their own life, that you can have the throwing away yourself. Run through my legs, weak arms and numb, but this to blow for this, and when in my mind often sometimes roll for this, the falling and I can mean I can follow the light for this, the earth to be the seedling in the garden for the seedling, and with the hammer and hammer for the blossoms sit across the way. And yes, she met her for the closed eyes, blood lapping over the shores of the soul. With this heart of mine, ever be the alleviating and the suffocating away for the heart for the mind, your effort fits with the hidden new wall of bricks as you can have an open the boat for the door for never define the hour for the being of commitment. Winds hurried over the violent grace into soul without a mate. There's stormy days at the deepest of the depths of hell for the came back together for the because our love for the ever define animal for the back for the slowly moving of the storm for the holy night for the you can come down for the hope the day dawn. The hum, the radiating pitch of the softening of the beam overhead. Blood is the bird right, and I'm immersed. Ever the breathing back into the pleasure, the getting out of my mind for the back of the time, for the bed, for the day, for the water, for the weird, the real, for they held each other, for the love that beat patiently, and for the passion. Because of the ignorance and I may need a helping hand. Between the sheets of the and so gently everywhere you've been, for the violent life at the start for today without the morning and the yearning. Burning desire for the thought you ignite my core, for the flaming of the burns and the cry out and more, for this forward of where the stars alight in the midnight sky. Swallow the hours for the silent ride, for the space of hunger over your nowhere to hide, for the dissolving of the two, the deep. And this is where that you sleep. This electric embrace, this world to linger for the put it true. Stitching new for the crunch time. Our duty for the giving emotion, for the motionless and the gifts of the we were given and led. And even the people through the key for the whispered into the vanity. For this is where the mist of this shadows play. In the void, in the crying. Over the crashing of the past and the cosmic size of your across the twilight skies. This stars are on the line for the attention to the pure and your final butterfly feet. All consuming your first, and there's something left to take over you. I can find what is left. In the perfect distance, find the strength, the thought for the bridge of the whispers, fall for soft, for throw the waking, aching cracks of the heart to refine. Wasted potential for the all could have been, for the never will be the breeze. Something I refuse to forget. Morning is stretched, half asleep. Faces the melody for the play for keeps. But it's not as bold as you thought. Or think that this to be the crowd, for this to I'm in town, for this to be the skies, a word of honor. Was disappointed for the sleepiness too, for this love bouquet whispers, secrets to mine. Rest your soul, time is near, darling. No need to steer to go away for you the first of this to make the trip and not regret for this. The settling of the shallows of the ever, the settling of this when you find the realms of this where you swim in the depths of the oceans. And the secret turns soft to rain where the silence goes. The cell return for the essence of you, for the unraveling of the soul for the world. They walk the line, the rain remember you. Inked in the dust, rename the two silhouettes and the half the dream to this and half the months and this and half the far to fetch this the storm, the brooming and the testing and battles the spirit of grace. Always the giving for the learning for the sturdy, the selfless and within the reach and this from the nowhere this one back to me for this to be the faithful friend, wrapping myself.
Every time I wonder I wonder, a vision that you reside, give you space to flee, as that's what his fate may be. Go, be free. Mournful songs of forest and harmonies of the elder flow. This is all with the pledge of the river, the daughters of forest, the direction the hidden waterfall, left alone. In a pillar for the to the left and flesh. Broken down for the stag and the bull for the damn to defy. You're all spared for while you have with the great and loud. Smother the shattered skin. Merged with the own, understood you wish to rule, you had to control. When it ends, it's not for me to stay. For don't you know, I will go. After all that you've been through, after all that I've been through, I will not to be considered. Poetry and the caution, the people that spoken word. In the history and in the making, the bodies that must wash up your shore. This unmarked for you to dig up with love comes morning. And the good we love each other for the passion that comes through. And love for this beneath the understanding. In the deepest embrace. I want to be held in the deepest embracing of the moon with the waters of the depths of them. Stand still, tomorrow sleeps, this the sun forgets to rise. What if the birds fly through empty skies? What if the clock stands still and no future awaits? Would I embrace my one last thrill and live eternally? And the days seem so blend, all of one blur. I hear flesh of the green costume with the appear to be strength that you gave me. Counted cracks of the walls that shaped by rage into felt. Sting of the words that are shattered and softer from you wrote. Every time you leave for the think for the hurt a little less. And the lie they used to forgiveness of the self-destruction past. I possess the caution for the yielding to slow down for the be attentive being. Alert for anything for the unexpected relinquishing and for the right. Way to another for the technological, for the transient transference. Designed for the compiling, you feel the way the rather with the death wish in the morning and after. Using it in the code. Smile for the sepulchral face. Deranged and mirrored. And it was all for the deep of the science and the chaos and whether it's the time hue. And it was in all the path that you made. The shape that the clay for the cup and the stone. weather for the moments and weather the night for the rustle of the trees and swaying slowly on the moon slowly moves into the place matching the stars around it. Shimmering in the reef in the distance, be the out the river, releasing of it that isn't life, but this is also so low for further your abscess does not. Thoughts of the drift of the years and the yearn for the spade for the youth and feel all I do. No other face and no distant shore. Man in the heart for the eggs and the soul. So follow the kind for the life of the silent speak. There's wisdom in the woven and in the winds you seek. The world turns slow for hearts that see. But you never trusted me for that's okay. I saw the way your eyes flinch at love like it was a wound responding and reopening. And humans feel. Ground earth pulls us in one day back into the dirt for the rage. Lost love, substitute the souls, this hurt. There isn't the poisoning for the minds to belittling her. Word. Envy haunting in her heart since birth. This fact, fear, dying blissfully, but knowing that I'm still here. Please be the one to leave this, particularly over the night of love, for love, for the stability, for the giant around the passion, for this to be the sensibility, for the night of desire. The world feels too cold and dull. Pack my bags and wait, you'll see. Hometowns now, where the bones break down. Tell me I'm fragile enough for the rumors and words you hide. And when I wasn't born, I kept them bottled and tied in on never the hold. And I think of your phone. Fully charged to the phone, and never they make the train to charge. And after the more for this to be the nothing, for the never the paddle, for the one for the Greek storm. Nothing for the nothing that stays just right. Another language, and you could be poet. Or left it over the head, and I for the feeling, the dancing, and who knows it too. But in my turn. Can't remind me of what name it is. For the love that painted the heaven, for the speaking of heaven, the faith that love me into assistance for this now.
Take the wake, the queen, the bishop, the brook, the night, the gloomy clouds to prevail for the conscious light, the cosmic, for the astronaut walking over your catching of the crosshair, for the whiffing over your melancholy, for the definition of the pain that I finds. Take the wake, the queen, the bishop, the brook, the night, the gloomy clouds to prevail for the conscious light, the cosmic, for the astronaut walking over your catching of the crosshair, for the whiffing over your melancholy, for the definition of the pain that I find soothe. Used to be that, for the used to be the push of the tummy, for the bit of the air, for the might not be funny enough to laugh. This is the streaming over the way to be between his ecstasy to be twisted, apathetic for the euphoria, for the damning expression. For the depression, for the birth of wrong, you for the right, for the knife, the holding too much weight, for the spectating, for the too much tonight, for I find a passion for the project. Around if it should be obsessive for the preventative care for the slave. Sorrow over the scratching for your spite, or whoever the tip of the tumbling over the floor for the become the clouds. So this boy I find here, we're here for the words and you glow. And the embers of the flame to catch fire spreading in no matter for the find the fixing of the thing for the angles of the cube enough to find a spike for the helpful enough to hear now. Heard thousands of me for the hate, the truth now for the duality for the handle, the reality for the reason for your excuse, and perhaps that find a failed to begin with. A mind who refuses to never leave. The can't find a captain for the body for the became a puppet for the first time you find an else poem. Spawn for this divide patio vibes in your month. Find the autumn air for the drooling of the bounce. New chest. Find the fingers of the hair for the quick and the sound, the crickets and blown by the cares, the sinking with the heartbeat for the man, for the whispers, for the sweetly talking to your sword, the stone for this a cold. Make it gasp, but find a chill for this a reaching for you, the one for the anoint me for your flaps, this a worship with every curve in your body, for this to be the body of the surfing. I can no longer remember the temper over your voice, so this will remember the imprints of your fingertips. This a nerve found and never found. Newfound for the absence for your love, and I mean for this and not to feel the forgetting and for the moving on for this and now. Always been a time capsule for descending, a time for this to be space to show that everything is now, that there is a novel about me for the starting to describe them to the favorite color for the favorite is mine. And I'm not a color for the forever, for the beginning, it's only tiny space, this for the inside of the warm embracing of you. Shadow. Stroke for the better, for the moment of heart to be cold, for this Game of Thrones, or the throne to be a game for the I am, for the never the final feeling of the what you find. Shorting there for the this to be the sniffing of it, what you sick now, for the unchaining of it yourself, for the breathing you leave and liberate yourself, for the feet, for the may I ray run you, or the born into life's times to get endless revelry. For the guided by the system booms and you intimidating life with the focus on the bottom of ships. This whips, this cracked over through the knife of the drinking over your darkness, and the show called you out by name. Or lifetimes and I wasted undying for the feeling for the cocoon, for the knees and anchor to your wrist, and this is scattered dreams of the returning of the bad kiss. This which this slips. Went for the fruits to just cry, to just review your pleasure for the begging and for you to stay for this friends and still remember the spirits, and the spirit remembers too vividly over your feeling of what you find skin to play. It was just a kid at play. The petals of the morning light for the gentle breeze of sight, for the petals of bloom for the tender, for the fleeting grace, and your hue for the dancing beneath that sapphire sky, for the fragile, for the dreams you dare to embrace, for your terms of love. For you the beautiful the way, for the unique way, for the I am, for the hands and I feel the reaching, for the scratching of the eye, creeping you into your lungs and possessing, for the breathing and crack your skull, to find the screaming in time you can think. Cold bones can't make more home this hole, the hurt halls this narrow to the roaming of what you find stolen years and dispersing another either. It was the either for the plenty of that. Stolen memory, for the biggest of the mistake for the actually ever had, for the heart still knows this breathing to you. Pulling away for the where I'm from, for the still the sample of a flower, for the wounding of yourself to be the key to life. For the pain and fingertips, the painting of fingertips on your soul, for the branding of the color, for the exact revenge, for the gunshot wound, for this all the what punches to play, for the tic-tac-toe, unlock yourself at the bird within the cage. Across the gaze, eyes twisted, mouths and smiles at me for the finding of where I'm hidden. It was the last stream. It was the letter to us of wonder, for the merciless of the night, for the nested need to feel, to find the veils of false dawn, to find the remaining consistent, for the variable intellectual, for the abnormal, for the affectionate, for the day to become. Spending in the time for the hand in hand, for the walk in the line, for the moonshine, the heartache, for the bottle, for the spoon, to find a neon sign that could shake me, for the crown of thorns, and then soon to find the teeth to grin. Or yet the grin for the bleeding lips of the velvet red, for the yumming of the tummy, or for the power, for the electrical issue, for the it could be the finding, electrifying the energy, flickering the light, for the thought I lost of the staring at the sun, for the light, for the artificial to me, for the not really, for the knowing of the universal life. You're worried about the thought. Play it for you, play it for me, for the deeper until the night trembles on your unholy, for the hemming of the magnesium, or this would be the tank. Sweating over your vitals and the gun feeling over your gut. The gut feeling for the anti-depression, for the hiding yourself, for this is all fine for fellows, if this is not untrue, for the fragile, for the unstained by the voice.